I think the next time you
Yes.
and your audience sees me is going to be at a more familiar time slot because I am heading your way, going to that side of the world. So pretty excited for that.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. My audience will be pleased to hear that as well. So yeah, you're in Mexico at the moment, but heading to Indonesia, I believe.
Indonesia, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully we can meet in person in the near future.
Yeah, we just got to get rid of all these COVID restrictions and we're good to go.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. So listen, what the hell is going on with this market? We're going to try and make a bit of sense for it for you today, people. I know it's a very confusing time for many of you. We're obviously going to have a look at the charts, look at a few fundamentals as well. I'm actually posting a video later today where I've looked at the big picture. So lots of facts and figures in that video. We'll cover a few of those in today's live show as well. But look, Baloo, should we jump into a BTC chart first, and then we'll have a look at what's happening in the futures markets, exchange outflows,
Sure.
etc.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
And guys,
Right,
as you're joining us, I know people are sort of dribbling in at the moment. Feel free to fire any questions at us as well. We'll do our best to answer them for you.
So here we are. We're in a lower high, lower low structure, as I always make note of, because that is just it's the strongest thing that you can take into consideration is trend. In my experience, trend kind of rules all. So currently we are in a downtrend when you're looking at the daily chart. When you look at the higher time frame stuff, you can make the argument that this move is a higher low when you're looking at something like the weekly, which is a pretty powerful time frame. But for the day to day and the nuance of where we are right now, we're kind of in this area right at around a bit of support. I mean, it's hard to call it support when you're in a downtrend. You can call it, an area where we're taking a breather. But there is some signs showing us that, we could potentially be building support here. If I turn on the RSI, there is a little bit of a bullish divergence. Now, a bullish divergence in a downtrend, you got to kind of be careful with it, just because of the fact that, we're trying to find characteristics that are going to work against the trend that we're currently in. Let me just get this a little bit more obvious, a little easier to see here. There we go. So you've got lower lows on this consolidation, whereas on the RSI, you've got higher lows. So currently, it looks like we might actually be breaking down on that trend here. So that's not technically a great sign. The technicals, they're not good, to be honest with you. If you're looking for new positions, you have to be very careful, and you really do need to know what you're doing as far as protecting yourself. So there's several ways that you can protect yourself. You can protect yourself with a small position size. You can protect yourself with a stop loss. You can protect yourself with options contracts where you can have a long position going against a short position to kind of hedge the volatility. There are some things that you can do, but for the newer investor trying to get into crypto on the dip, buying the dip is always a good thing when you're in an uptrend. When you're in a downtrend, you have to give it a little bit more thought. Now, I always take a long time to flip my bias because it's usually the best way to go. And I've been remaining relatively neutral, but I'm very much so proceeding with caution. I need solid confirmations if I'm to lean into this to the long side. I need us above $40,000 for me to get bullish again. We could head down for a little bit of a spring, which is basically just coming out of the range and getting bought back into the range. Let me actually go down to a lower time frame here so you can see what I'm looking at here. So basically a spring is where you kind of pop out of the bottom, which is actually what we've done here. We've come out of the bottom, and then if we can come in and test and have volume come in the form of demand, then we could begin to think, okay, we're potentially, repairing the trend here. But there's a big difference between taking a position in a trend that is repairing itself and taking a position in a trend that's bullish. So, You got to proceed with caution. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to, manage a stop loss and manage your downside exposure, then please proceed with caution, or change your time parameters to years and decades, because that seems to work as well. But let's hear something on the fundamental side, because I know that the fundamentals are way stronger than what we're seeing in the technicals. And it's important to realize when you're looking at the technicals, things are going to look bearish in a downtrend until the trend changes. So I need to maintain that bias of lower highs and lower lows until that changes. And where does it change? It changes at the bottom. It's really that simple. So people really get wrapped up in the minutia of technical analysis and begin to convince themselves that it's your ability to predict the future, and it's not. It's your ability to interpret the present.
Yeah.
So presently we're in a downtrend. We need to break that before we can flip back bullish.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, some of the bigger picture stuff here that I'm finding very, very interesting is, we've seen the biggest exchange outflow in 7 months. So typically that is a very bullish sign. That's people taking their coins off the exchanges, typically into hodl positions. But the other thing we're seeing at the moment is a massive growth in BTC going into DeFi. So to put some numbers around this, people, in April, we had 94,000 Bitcoin in DeFi. In just over a month, that's increased to 174,000. That's a massive, massive increase. So I think the more sophisticated investors here are understanding, okay, I can get a yield out of my Bitcoin. We've seen Mr. Wonderful talk about this recently. He's a billionaire. They've allocated 3% of their corporate treasuries across multiple companies into DeFi. So they're buying BTC, wrapping it, moving it onto Ethereum, and getting a yield. So these price fluctuations for the more sophisticated investors, they're understanding that the volatility is actually providing a better yield in many, many scenarios. So these type of factors show a maturing market to me. It makes me extremely bullish moving forward here. I did a video the other week looking at what are you? Are you an investor? Are you a speculator, a trader, or a gambler? And I think it is a confusing market at the moment, and taking that step back and really figuring out how you're playing this and sticking to a strategy. Crypto is booming here, people. We're seeing the Ethereum gas fees, the ability to use that layer 1. Those gas fees have come back massively. Why has that happened? Because layer 2, things like Aave on Polygon, the amount of capital locked up on these platforms now is growing exponentially. So these big picture factors for crypto, those on these major protocols, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they haven't been stronger in my opinion. So don't get too jumpy here, people. I mean, obviously we're all sort of looking at that 30K support level here, Baloo. Obviously a lot of panic. Is that going to break? We hear some pretty horrific figures if it does, where we're going to go down to. So maybe we could discuss that a little bit, and also have a look at what is happening with the volume of stable coins. Have people gone back to fiat? Are they sitting on the sidelines? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's important to realize a fundamental factor as to how these meltdowns happen, like how these really large moves happen. They occur when leveraged positions become liquidated. So it's very important to realize that and take a look at open interest, because when we look at the open interest, and for those who don't know, open interest is the amount of dollars that are inside of contracts, inside of positions that can be liquidated. That's open interest. We're pretty low. So when you take that into consideration, if we are to move to the downside, it's going to be on the spot markets. So it's going to be a capitulation on the spot markets, which is always less violent. And it's going to be coming from retail. I think that you make a lot of good points in this would be the final shakeout, that final like mind messing with your mind point where the transition happens, the transfer from the weak hands to the strong hands occurs. There's just not enough fuel in the rocket to the downside, in my opinion. When we're talking open interest, for us to reach super critical, scary levels, 30K. I mean, that seems very logical. We can come down and hit this wick. I mean, if we hit this wick, we might even wick down to something like 24,000. It's not even outside of the cards to call it 20,000. I really think that's kind of pushing it. And the further down you go, the less likely the probability of that actually happening is. Yeah. But when you consider open interest, if we start breaking down below 30, what is every single retail trader who has access to leverage going to do? They're going to short it. And when they short it, now we have open interest. The problem is, or the solution is, it's all on the short side. So the exact same effect takes place where we have those liquidations to the downside. You get liquidations to the upside, and you get these huge V-shaped recoveries, these huge pump candles where everybody doesn't understand. And they're like, well, this is manipulation. It's like, well, no, everybody went short at the wrong time. And then you get liquidated on the way up. So it's definitely a possibility. If we go to your point about stable coins, this one is also showing a little bit of room. So this is actually just, I've overlaid the Bitcoin chart here, but it's actually tether dominance, the tether dominance chart that I'm looking at. I don't need the price candles on the tether dominance chart. What I'm more interested in is actually the RSI on this one. So when you look at the RSI, anytime Tether becomes really overbought is typically a spot where you kind of get these rallies. So, this was the COVID shakeout where it was really overbought. After that, the money on the sidelines had to go somewhere. It went back into crypto because the crypto space is bullish on crypto. We got overbought again here. That resulted in another upside move. And now we're kind of in this channel right now as far as the RSI. Now, RSI, you can't trade it the same as a pattern, but we are inside of this channel. If we get overbought, we're at the bottom of the channel now. If we head to the top of the channel, that's going to be another move where everybody is scared and runs into Tether. And B, it's going to be probably the signal that a lot of the people are waiting for, as far as, okay, we've hit the price, we've hit all of the parameters that kind of make us happy, and now we're going to jump back into the market. We're also getting pretty close to some of our key indicators. Matthew, who's been on the show a few times, who built the Alpha Numerics indicator, his is about to flash. It's getting ready to flash. Yeah, if we get one more move to the downside, we'll get another buy flash on his indicator. So, there's a lot of confluence down anywhere from 30 to potentially even 24,000. I think 24,000 will get bought up very quickly. Now, I can't predict the future, and I can't tell you, yes, it will get bought up very quickly, but I just think that this has been nothing but a swing low. Usually when you're in a downtrend, you get a swing low. Come on, pen, work. High, low, lower high, lower low. You get a swing high, and it's the swing high that brings the open interest in, because people think, okay, we're good, we're going to head up now. And people open long contracts, and then it goes back down. So because we just sat here and we haven't done anything, the open interest is low. So I think we'll get probably a fake out, something like that. Can't predict the future. I am kind of hedging in more advanced and interesting ways, but yeah, it's kind of a wait and see, and you have to be patient. This took 4 months to play out, by the way. This distribution took 4 months to play out. If you're watching with the 1 hour, expecting the accumulation to appear down here in a matter of days, keep waiting, because it's just not logical to have that sort of time parameter when we came off of something from a high time frame.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So a bit of a wait and see. Then
it's been a wait and see for a while.
Yeah. I've been trading the range a wee bit. Buying back in low 30s, jumping out high 30s, but that's been exhausting.
you're not getting a lot either. The
No,
range is there, but it's not easy to trade. It
no.
is not easy to trade unless you're on the short side. The shorts are actually easier, but that's because we're in a downtrend. So, you have to trade what's being given to you. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Look, I've actually picked up sort of increased the position, just sort of looking more at fundamentals on these ones. But I've added to my my Kasama position. I've been in that for quite a while now. They got their parachain auction beginning next week, so hopefully it's not a not a buy the rumor, sell the news scenario. But yeah, I'm expecting some more appreciation there. Obviously, everything is tying back to Bitcoin here. So we need a fairly stable or increasing Bitcoin for the rest of the market to be healthy. But yeah. Look, I mean, as I say, overall, I'm pretty happy with this market is at. If we do break that 30 Baloo, I think that's going to be pretty short-lived. I'm certainly a buyer, definitely. Anything below 30. I know a lot of other people are as well. That, as I say, that macro picture is extremely positive. On a negative, this is something that has concerned me for a while. I'm seeing some press today about the DeFi space and regulation there. So I'm expecting some headwinds in the near future around that. That's always been on the cards. So that's the only sort of negative I see at the moment. But, in many ways, once we get to a point where we have complete clarity around these markets, then, that's only going to be a positive moving forward. So I think, the DeFi that is coming. I think it's also important to realize, we mentioned this in a show I did the other day. I think we get a little bit too caught up sometimes in this market looking at news out of the US, what US politicians are saying, etc. This is a global market. That's the beauty of what we're all doing here in the blockchain space. So, I sometimes need to temper my reaction to news out of the US. It's, we don't live and die on decisions by US politicians here at all. I think that's important to remember as well.
Yeah, if I could piggyback on that thought, can the US market or can the US news move the market in a negative way? Yes, there's a lot of market participants in the US. But here's the thing, like Sean said, this is a global market. This is a global commodity. And where one country offers restriction, another country is going to offer opportunity. So the demand is not going to change. You might have volatility, you might have a short-term downtrend, you might even get a bear market as a result of some of this stuff. But in the big picture, in the long term, if one country restricts access and restricts use to this revolutionary technology, they're going to be shooting themselves in the foot, because other countries who don't have a strong economy, we're seeing, what was El Salvador? Was it El Salvador?
El Salvador.
We got some news in
Paraguay. Looks like
they're making a very crypto-friendly environment, and that's what's going to happen. Those that are crypto rich, or those that are blockchain entrepreneurs, or those who are interested in this space and want to be treated where they're treated best, they're going to go to those places. The demand won't change. The intrinsic and fundamental demand won't change.
Yeah, that's
the price will.
Baloo, you're 100% correct, mate. And something that a lot of people have brought up with me in the last week or so after we had the news out of China. Obviously we had all that fart around, the energy usage of Bitcoin issues in China. Obviously everyone knows the story now. Elon Musk, blah blah blah. But really, what I wanted to say to people on that, you've got to understand that the Bitcoin hash rate, and when they're talking about, banning mining in China and so forth, so much of that Chinese hash rate actually comes, exactly what we're talking about here. It's global. You could have me sitting down here in New Zealand, but I'm providing my computational power, my mining power to this mining pool in China. So I think it's Ant Farm, one of the bigger ones there. So, you've got to understand that any sort of ban that would happen in China, that's really, to me, that's somewhat of not really a problem. In many ways, I would view it as potentially a positive moving forward anyway, because that hash rate that is global just moves to another pool that's based out of another country. So, these sort of fun events, these news events that a lot of you retail investors, you're new to the space, you're hearing all these negatives and, oh my God, this, you've got to, as we just said before, step back and look at the macros, look at the growth in these platforms, look at the adoption, how many wallets there are in Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're seeing exponential growth. I mean, another project that Baloo and I are big fans of, Axie Infinity, they've just broken 100,000 daily users now. That thing is growing exponentially.
I'm like going nuts over that game now. I'm actually playing the freaking game now just to get a better understanding as to, why certain axes are valued more. And so now I'm playing the freaking game. I'm getting, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah,
no,
it's a
but
good
that's
game.
fine.
Go play it.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. You were quite new to that particular app product, just a few weeks ago. Now you're sort of seeing that exponential growth and that play to earn space. Once you've sort of cottoned on to those sort of fundamentals, then understanding, okay, how am I going to invest in this in the sector becomes so much easier. As much as I love charting, in crypto, because it is so new, you've really got to get in there and dig around in these offerings as well. There's a gold mine out there in so many spaces. But, coming back and looking at that big picture, Ethereum gas fees dropping. Why? Because we're seeing explosive exponential growth and the likes of the Polygon. That is helping scale Ethereum. So, the growth in something like Axie Infinity, the amount of Bitcoin that's now wrapped in DeFi is nearly doubled in a month. I mean, what does that tell you, people? This is a healthy market, in my opinion. From a fundamental point of view, yes, we've talked about the composite man here. I think this is a shakeout. I really do.
Yeah.
Absolutely do.
And you can understand the fundamentals as much as you want, and you can understand the bigger picture as much as you want. But the reality is people are scared because they're putting their hard-earned dollars into something that, on the surface, to somebody who hasn't spent enough time educating themselves on the topic, looks very fragile. It looks very fragile when, you and I, Sean, we kind of been in this space long enough, and we've gone down the rabbit hole far enough to or at least think, we at least think that this is one of the most robust and strong technologies that exists today. There's a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty, it's a part of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's going to be hard. So the best thing that you can do is just hit the books, go back to the fundamentals, understand why you're here. Because if you're here to make money and that's it, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle on the mental side because of the volatility here. There's lots of opportunity. You can trade the market. I teach people how to trade. Like, all of that stuff is all fine and dandy. But the bigger picture, you do have to have a fundamental grasp as to what's going on here and what the potential threats are and what the potential opportunities are as well.
Exactly. And, you're 100% correct. I'm still talking to people that, own many, many tokens, but they still haven't quite even understood what the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is. If you're operating at that level, yes, if you're a great chartist, the reality is you don't actually need to understand anything. If you can read a chart, fine and dandy, but most people can't. So get your head around the absolute basics here. Understand that the actual use case of Bitcoin and how it is different to Ethereum, to a Solana, to a Kusama. Get that level of basic knowledge fundamentally at this point. There's so much information that goes around in the space, and it can be so difficult to stay on top of it. Things do move fast, but don't get confused by the clutter. Come back and understand that, the bare basics here. It's very easy to do. We make a load of content on that on this channel. So, tune in for that. Get up to speed, people. This is a good time. No problem sitting on the sideline for a bit here and, get that knowledge up. On that note, Baloo, could we have a quick look at Ethereum, see what's happening there?
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
I find it fascinating, absolutely fascinating at the moment that the volumes in Ethereum have been surpassing Bitcoin on the regular.
Yeah. It's probably volatility driven. We could speculate on a lot of different things as to what's driving it, but Yeah, let me just see what's going on with Ethereum USD. So similar kind of structure. So the two are actually paired quite. They're positioned quite similarly. Actually, let's do a side by side because that's actually quite educational. Let's do a side by side. This is on the 1 day. This is on the 4 hour. Let's change that over. Oops. So you can see a lot of similarities in their structure. Now, on the surface, Ethereum is stronger. Okay, if we just take a look at the lows, we've got an ascending structure on the lows for Ethereum. So what does that mean? It doesn't just mean, oh, the candles are going higher. It means that people are willing to step in and be a buyer at higher levels than last. So people are more eager to buy Ethereum than they are to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is kind of downsloping. So people are less interested in Bitcoin. Why that is the case, it could be just retail driven, it could be trader driven, it could be the fact that there's just more volatility in Ethereum currently, or it could just be the fundamental drivers of supply and demand, and there's just more things that you can do with Ethereum. So people are still buying it. People might be on the fence with Bitcoin, but they might go and try and do other things, like, for example, under the context of Axie, it's like, well, I don't need to buy an Axie, so I need some Ethereum so I can mess around with Axie. So there's still kind of like more demand coming in with Ethereum. Let me just get rid of Bitcoin there for a sec.
I think
overall,
that's
it's kind of.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
Yeah, it's a similar structure. We're still range bound. I always draw my ranges kind of horizontal to start. So this could end up breaking bullish, but we did kind of break out of the downsloping or the upsloping line of support. So maybe we come down, get a bearish test, head back to the bottom. I don't know, but it's structurally more sound than Bitcoin, and there's on-chain data that goes with that as well.
Yeah, I think it's a number of things there as well. With a bit of uncertainty around, especially a lot of people getting burnt in low cap alts, effectively investing in apps that maybe didn't get adoption or aren't quite ready yet. I think for a lot of people, understanding that, okay, you don't have to buy a bunch of racehorses to win here. You can actually own the track, and that's the way I sort of look at Ethereum. So I took my chance on the bounce and got rid of a few of my sort of speculative alts, and I put that into Ethereum. I'm playing the same game, but I'm buying the track, not the horse. So that's kind of my attitude at this stage of this market, and to a certain degree, I've done the same thing with an investment and the likes of Solana, Kusama. So that's where I'm at. I'm going back to those base protocols that I believe in, primarily Ethereum, but I've got a bit of my stack and those other ones I've just mentioned. So that's the game I'm playing at the moment. You're playing the options market. Anything else to sort of pass on to the audience before we wrap up today, Baloo?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into my option strategy. It's a little advanced, but
fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just trying to cover both.
On that note, though,
sides.
if you do want to get into Baloo's option strategy, make sure you jump over. The links are below. Join his group. Join his group and get in there and have a chat with Baloo, Leanne, Matt are all in there.
Yeah, we're all in here, and there's plenty of other traders that are not as ready to be on camera. We've got a huge community of traders, specifically Wyckoff traders. Leanne and Matthew are momentum and moving average traders, but we find a lot of confluence between the two. Also, anybody that signs up, you get Matthew's indicator. So he's been kind enough to offer the indicator to our whole community, which is fantastic. So you get, Wyckoff trading, you get an indicator. And if you are interested in joining, 50% off your first month with the coupon code WELCOME. There's my shill.
There you go, people. I mean, there's, it's while the market is quite hard to figure out, what better thing to do than get in there and talk to a bunch of other traders.
Honestly, when the market is slow is the best time to learn. And I'm not just saying that to sell my group. I'm telling you, like, the market is slow right now. This is the opportunity to learn, because when it starts going again, you're not going to feel like you have any time. You're not going to feel like you have any spare time, because you're going to be glued to the charts. You're going to be looking at different projects. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. You're going to be in Telegram, getting all your hot tips, and you're not going to feel like you have time. So just, capitalize on this moment. It's slow. That's an opportunity in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So listen, mate, thanks so much for your time today. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, and we'll be in a different time zone in a week or two, people. But I'll keep you updated on that. Looking forward to having you in my part of the world very soon, mate. And thanks so much for your time.
I am as well.
Yeah,
always a pleasure. Thank you, Sean.
Okay, and thanks everyone. Look, good luck out there, people. I hope you've taken something from today's show. We'll see you back here